Welcome, everyone. I'm Sharon Martin, National Secretary Treasurer-elect, and I'm so excited to welcome all of you to the session on fundraising. Before we begin, though, we do have a few housekeeping items to mention. The Mortarboard National Leadership Conference is a place to exchange meaningful ideas. We will respect each other's opinions and allow them to be shared freely. So we encourage participation from all members. And if you'd like to ask a question during the presentation, please raise your virtual hand to be called on, or you can type your questions in the chat and we can answer them there as well. Speaking of chat, joining us today is Ellen O'Neill, who will be our chat minder for this session. We'll be answering questions and engaging in conversation via the chat function as well. Today, I have the privilege of introducing our speaker, Mortarboard Chief Executive Officer Emerita Jane Hamblin. Jane's dedication and commitment to Mortarboard started when she was first initiated into the Barbara Cook chapter at Purdue University. A lawyer by trade and an expert in fundraising, we're grateful to hear her wisdom in this session. Please help me welcome Jane Hamblin.
Wow, I'm not sure that was me. That might be the introduction for someone else. Thank you, Sharon. That's really kind. I was initiated at Purdue. It wasn't the Barbara Cook chapter yet, but Barbara Cook was one of my mentors, and so I'm always glad when her name is invoked. That'll make this a really great session, I hope, because you've done that. Thank you, Sharon. I also want to have you meet Lori Taylor, from the CEO owner of Blossom Express, which is Mortarboard's preferred flower vendor. Lori, will you wave your hand so that everyone can see you? I'm going to get started, and Lori will join me in a minute, and she might want to chime in too. I'm very interruptible. Fundraising. What do you think of? You could put it in the chat, or you could even holler it out, or you could do an emoji. What do you think of when you hear the word fundraising? I'm not seeing anything. You think of nothing. Oh, I see a sad face and from Jen. That's true. Wrapping paper, flowers, shirts. So the things you're fundraising, money, that's good. I like those. I think of, I'm not sure about the wrapping paper and the flowers and shirts, although I get that now that you've put that in there. There are lots of things that come to mind when we think about fundraising: fun, drudgery, necessity, hopelessness, hard, successful, happy. There's a lot to do with fundraising, and I want us to make sense of fundraising together. I thought that I would start with the word fundraising, which is the title of this session, and that caused me to look up the word fund. Not too clever, really. A sum of money made available for a particular purpose. So as I thought about that, I parsed it a little bit. I thought that meant the sum of money had to be there to begin with. You didn't try and scramble around to make the money to spend it for the particular purpose. You already had the money. And so I'd like us to think about already having the money. I'd like to focus on fundraising. Every chapter has to raise funds. And every chapter has to make money, but if you think about it as raising a sum that will be there already and stay there in the chapter and continue to grow, then that is a significant shift, I think, rather than just living hand to mouth. It's a hard concept for mortarboard chapters to grasp, because by our very nature, our collegiate chapters are organizations of members who are in for 1 year as collegiate members for the most part. So it's hard for us to do long-term planning. And many of our chapters use the money that the last chapter left behind, and maybe they raise some money during their year and then select the next class, and then maybe leave them with enough money but then they become alums and they're gone. And that's just not a very sustainable model. So I hope to work with you today and think with you today about the opposite of that hand-to-mouth approach, which is that a great many chapters have caught on. They figured out that it is not enough to raise just enough to get by, but to build money so that you have funds. And I see at least one Purdue person here, so I am going to use a Purdue story briefly just to demonstrate what can happen if you become the chapter that thinks in terms of fundraising. In 1941, at Purdue, the chapter decided that there was a need for a little campus date book with all the important dates of the campus. And so they put together and mimeographed and stapled a little red covered date book that fit in a pocket. And they printed 500 of them, sold them for 50 cents by going from door to door in the residence halls. And they made $200 or $300 after expenses. And they even printed another round that year. And they used the money to create scholarships for other students. Now, remember, 1941, a little money went a lot longer of a way than it does now. The next year is the most important year in my judgment about the Purdue mortarboard chapter. In 1942, after the new class was tapped, they debated whether or not to continue this date book project. And they decided, yes, they would go ahead with it. And they printed the little date books. They made the cover a different color, and they got about $400 that year. And so it built up over time, and they were able to give small scholarships to non-mortarboard students to help them during their college time at Purdue. So every year since then, there's been a Purdue mortarboard calendar, and I pulled a couple pictures of, as you can see on the screen, a cover from 2000 and a cover from 2014 and 2012. Those are the last ones that I was sent. Now the chapter members don't go door to door. Some of you may have calendars as well, by the way. It is sold in bookstores. I think at one point there were two sizes, a book size and a desktop size. But the point of the story is that with the guidance of their advisor, the class of 1942, that is the second mortarboard class after the first one did this project, decided to raise money to create funds for a purpose like scholarships. And if you're a chapter that's living hand to mouth, you cannot do that. You will not leave something behind for the next chapter. So I urge you to be the chapter that raises funds. I did mention, by the way, that several other chapters have books. If you have one, you want to put it in the chat. If you have a calendar, Arkansas did. This is actually a picture from Arkansas in 1972. The chapter, 1978. Chapter members presenting their planner for the year to the university president. Oklahoma State had or has one. Louisville had one. San Diego State does have a planner now, and they make several $1,000s a year. And so it isn't about the planners, except I want to make it clear that Purdue isn't the only one. It may have been the first mortarboard chapter to do a planner, but there were others. So be the chapter that sets up a plan for long-term sustainable fundraising. It is more than 1 year's worth of money-making projects. It stands the test of time. By the way, did I mention that I'm really interruptible? If you want to raise your hand and say, that didn't make sense, or boy, that was a good point, Jane. No, I'm just teasing. You don't have to say that. Please chime in, won't you? And Ellen will be watching the chat and can help us do that. So even though we are 1 year we seem to be a 1 year organization, we clearly are not, because some of your chapters have been around. I'm looking at Ohio State. Some of your chapters have been around longer than Mortarboard has been around. We may have a 1 year mentality, but we really have a permanent place on campuses. And if you're going to take a permanent place on campus and be the kind of chapter that we expect, we urge you to be the chapter now that sets out on a 3-year plan that keeps the chapter through fundraising connected to the campus community, visible to the campus community, helpful to the campus community, notable to the administration, and I use the word admired by the campus community. So I'd like to get to some projects, I think. Remember that there are several different types of projects. There's online giving, peer-to-peer giving, which we see a lot of in some of our chapters. There's the type of program, the walk, run, ride fundraising, and then you have online auctions and mobile bidding. There are other clusters of programs, but these are the ones I would like us to think a little bit about. Remember that Mortarboard is more. So don't steal another organization's project. Think critically and make your offering valuable. I urge you to assess what's working on your campus and have a spirited discussion as you plan your chapter action plan. Get some key campus administrators in on this. Get some key members of your chapter, your officers and advisors, and diagnose your fundraising situation. What will work on your campus? What works on a campus of 50,000 won't work on a campus of 500. Maybe the concept will, but the scale is going to be different for sure, right? So, and you have to think about this plan in terms of what you can do this year, what you will be able to do in year 2, and what you will be able to do in year 3. So let's look at things like, let me look ahead and make sure. Okay, here we go. Walk, run, ride. I think walks and runs are not a good idea, or rides, because they're really hard to set up. They take a lot of time. And unless you have thousands and thousands of riders like in the Pelotonia that's going on today in Columbus, they've raised $226 million just today alone, or something magnificent for the hospital here in Columbus. We can't do that. We don't have the wherewithal. But there are a couple things that I've seen chapters do successfully. Dodgeball, a dodgeball tournament. Everybody knows how to play dodgeball. Even if you are awkward or slow, you can play dodgeball. A knockout basketball tournament, that kind of thing will get campus interest. And a polar plunge. You can only do that where the ice is coming off the water. So southern chapters, you're out. A A couple of other thoughts I have about peer-to-peer. Instead of selling candles or all those, many chapters make a couple $100 selling candles like Yankee candles. Think about selling flashlights to students' parents. Everybody needs a good flashlight. Plant sales. Since we don't know whether we're going to be quarantined again, given the Delta variant and others that are coming along in the COVID strain, what about a plant sale? Everybody needs a plant to take care of. And since everybody's gotten a dog or a cat, but you can't train cats, I don't think. Since everybody's gotten a dog, what about doing some kind of pet training or pet sitting? Oh, speaking of that, it doesn't fit with pet sitting. Don't think I'm equating children with pets, but this is an example of knowing your community. At Denison several years ago, there was the mortarboard chapter babysat the children of faculty members so that the faculty members could go to a program, a concert in the concert hall, and the members simply got one of the nice padded rooms near the concert hall and looked after the children so that the faculty members and could have a nice kind of date night without worrying about their kids. And they were so happy to have be relieved of their parental duties for a short time that they were happy to make a contribution to mortarboard, and the chapter made a lot of money. And so knowing who you can make money from and thinking about what is going on campus is pretty important. Campus showcases is another thing I'd like to talk about. Look at things like Park Like a Dean. I think SMU does that successfully, maybe Texas Tech as well. President for a Day, I know that's Texas Tech. A haunted tour of campus. That could take off. Or an Imagine tour of campus. What did campus look like 50 years ago, 100 years ago, or what will campus look like in another 100 years? Now, I know these are very place-centric, but sometimes campus showcases have to be that way. Also, if you were going to do some type of online auction of photo opportunities, like let's say you have a great bell tower on campus and nobody can go up in the bell tower. If you could get permission to auction off the right to have a photo made in the bell tower where nobody else can go, I'll bet that a lot of students and parents and faculty members would buy a ticket. Some of our chapters, especially in northern states, have chances to slap a hockey puck into the goal from the center line and win a prize. Those are handsome fundraisers that are pretty easy to do, and they showcase part of the campus. Other opportunities would be like having a photo made with a famous athlete on your campus, or having a chance to play a pickup basketball game in your arena. So it's fun like having a new dog daily. Individual career services is another thing I want to talk about. You know, mortarboard chapters, well, in the early 1900s, women did not have access to placement services on campuses, where co-ed campuses. And so the Dean of Women often took over that role to help graduating women figure out what they were going to do, especially if what they were going to do didn't involve getting married and raising a family, which was what women were expected to do. And because the Dean of Women was often the advisor of the mortarboard chapter, mortar board members assisted in career services through the Dean of Women. And so we have always had this kind of placement center mentality in mortar board, placement service mentality. So think about selling headshots to members or to students for a really good chance at getting a job, and providing them maybe with the right kind of clothing for that shot, that they would just put on a suit and tie or a jacket and tie, a nice dress or blouse for the photo, because some students can't afford that kind of clothing. Resume review sessions where you would charge students a little bit. Practice interviews, you could really charge just a little bit and set up a few nights of interview practices, and you would be surprised how you could make a dent on campus. It's both a service and a moneymaker. And I have Kaplan here as well. Mortarboard has an agreement with Kaplan to the test preparation service. Any mortarboard can use the code mortarboard 10. I'm digressing a little bit. Any mortarboard can use the code mortarboard 10. And Kaplan will give a 25% off discount, or they call it a scholarship, for any mortarboard executive officer. So we can give you that code. Our office can give you your own special code to use if you want to do a Kaplan course or use one of their test prep things. And I think the end of digression. Now on to the point. Kaplan will assist your chapter in setting up either test prep classes that you could charge for on a campus, or other kinds of career forward opportunities that they have in their bag of tricks. So there are Kaplan representatives around the country, and you probably have one on your campus. And since we have an agreement with Kaplan, they are willing to help chapters do that. Okay, I put campus calendar because I think all campus services are the way to go if you can find one. And graduation flower sales is another one that I wanted to mention. And this is where Lori Taylor will come in. By the way, I'm just showing here, you can see on this screen just a little snippet of a chapter's financial report. And you can see that President for a Day made $146, and the raffle made $332, and I don't know what the royalty give back was, made $92. But flower sales, 15 grand. That's an all-campus event that you want to have. And I'll come back to other senior events, but Lori, could I ask you to talk a little bit about Blossom Express and how you work with mortarboard chapters?
Of course. Hello, everybody. Good to be here with you today. I'm Lori with Blossom Express, and I've been working with the mortarboard for about 25 years. And we send the flowers out for free for you all to sell. At graduation, we send them in bouquets with filler flower, greens. We FedEx them to your door. You literally do not pay 1 penny up front. You actually will send you supplies. You put the flowers in the buckets we give you, you bring them to graduation. We want it to be fun, fast, easy money. You're busy, you have other things to do. So we try to do everything we can just to really simplify every detail for you. If you're short of staff, especially with COVID and everybody going everywhere, we'll even provide you with money so you can hire fellow students to sell the flowers for you. We're unfortunately not allowed to pay mortarboard students. Unfortunately, that would be great, but we can. But we can hire your fellow students to come help you sell the flowers. And it seems universal that students need money to kick off their summer, or if it's winter break, to kick off their winter break. And it seems to be pretty easy to get people to work if you're short-staffed. We're kind of excited. This year, we normally give $1,000 in free flowers for new chapters during their first sale. But this year, we're with the pandemic and everybody's struggling. We're giving $2,000 away in free inventory for your first sale. So up to $2,000. A tiny school won't sell that, but a lot of the schools, medium to average, will definitely sell that and more. So you'll get $2,000 in product if it's your first sale. After your first sale, we give you 30% of the gross sales. Any flowers that are not sold or donated, you can donate to whomever you want after your sale. And it's just a really consistently successful fundraiser. I've probably worked with maybe 1,000 members over the past 25 years. And, seems like almost every sale, they're so excited about how well it did and that it was a great experience, and it brings everyone together, and the families are so happy you're there, because a lot of times they don't think to go out and buy flowers, and they see everybody with flowers and they're just grateful for that you're there and appreciative. And it's just a fun, I'm from Northern California. For 15 years, I worked it myself. I was having so much fun. Now I've sort of passed the torch because I'm trying to help all of you, but it's just really an enjoyable experience, and it's great money. I think it's, a lot of you tell us it's the best money you'll make. And I mean, you think before commencement, you have no money, and after commencement, now you have all this money in your account, and it pays a lot of your expenses to get through the year, and helps a lot of you. Obviously, you're graduating in the spring, and all you really do is call us up and get that permission from the school, and we'll take over from there, including, and then once you have your transitions, we'll start with the person coming in. And if they need help, we'll hire help. So we try to have them put in as little effort as possible and take care of everything we can for you at this end. And that's kind of how it works.
So Lori, just to recap, you have some incentives for first-time chapters that work with you. You do ask that they sign an agreement, which is a good, smart business thing to do, right?
Well, actually, not on the first sale.
Okay.
Once they do it, they have the option, and almost every chapter does, because we'll come up with a little bonus to do the agreements with us.
Very good.
But yes, up to 2,000. So depending on the size of your school, we've just done so many sales, we can kind of gauge what they will sell. Within reason, you can never get it perfect, but pretty close. And whatever we think you'll sell, we'll send that out for free, up to $2,000.
Thank you.
Which is pretty cool.
And you do winter commencements, August commencements, as well as April, May.
Exactly. We do.
Any questions for Lori about flower sales? Anybody want to, where can we learn more about this opportunity? It sounds amazing. We are a tiny university, but there's a single flower shop in our town.
Wow, that's fantastic.
That's Chanley Rainey. Chanley? Oh, I see you. Want to talk for just a second, please?
Oh yeah, so I'm the advisor for Mortar Board at Mississippi University for Women. So you'll know Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and home of UA football. We are an hour west of that, but we are very small. I think this would probably do well at our graduation ceremony. So like I said, we have a very small number of people who would purchase, just because our graduations are small, but I'd love to learn more about it.
We'll be sure to put you in touch with Lori and her wonderful staff. It is amazing, and you can make it work on a small campus, can't you, Lori?
Yes. No campus is too small for Mortar Board. It's almost impossible to fail. In all the years we've been doing this, I don't think we've ever had anybody not. I mean, I'm not going to say if it's really tiny, you'll make huge money, but every dollar counts, right? Especially in these days.
And if you look at it like it's a service, as Lori just pointed out, families get to campus and they realize that they don't have anything for their graduate. And there, all of a sudden, right there on the pathway to the commencement is the mortarboard booth with some great banners and happy, smiling mortarboard members wearing their T-shirts saying, here are some beautiful roses. Take them and give us $20 or whatever they charge, and go on your way, and everybody's happy. And Monica asks, would trying a fall commencement be better than spring? Like your fall commencement might be smaller. Is that what you're thinking, Monica?
Yes, and a lot of chapters like to start with a small one, and it really is a good gauge for how you do in the spring too. You know, it's I mean, it couldn't be much simpler, you know, but it's nice to start with a smaller one. You learn little tricks on your campus, and you know where to set up and things like that.
There are campuses that won't let mortarboard or any organization, a student organization, sell flowers. There are other problems sometimes that are encountered on campus if another student organization wants to do it. But Lori will help you work through all of the issues that you might have on your particular campus and try and sculpt the flower sales to suit your campus. And I see Brianna from Ball State asked a question about tips to sell the flowers. Can we put a pin in that? And maybe if we have time, we'll come back to some more questions there, Brianna. And Lori would be happy to talk with you offline too.
Yes.
I'm going to move us along to a few more thoughts about, there we go, senior events. Graduation flower sales are certainly a service, but do a senior showcase. It might be, for some campuses of the right size, their student organizations, a sorority or a fraternity, would pay money for to enter some of their seniors into the senior showcase, and the mortarboard chapter would put that on, and the winning seniors could be paraded around campus on a fire truck, or I don't know, on a golf cart. At any rate, something to generate interest and support seniors. Another thing that used to be done long ago at the University of Kansas that I still think could work today is a torchlight parade of seniors, although back when they did it, they had real torches. We would not do that anymore. But take your flashlight, and all the seniors gather and parade around campus and wind up at the Oval or at the middle of campus, so that you could celebrate being seniors. That would work on some campuses and not on others, but to have every senior who comes to make a contribution. A few other points. Diversify your fundraising operations. If you do all peer-to-peer operations, like sell the candles and then you sell baked goods and then you sell t-shirts, it's yikes. Yikes, you're not going to make very much money and you're going to wear your chapter out. So diversify the people you reach out to, like the Dennison story about reaching out to the faculty who wanted to have a quiet night without their children but knew they were nearby. Think about that and understand your campus well enough to hook into those kinds of opportunities. Diversify your locations as well. For instance, if you were to sell flashlights as a money raiser, and you could sell some in the business school, and then the next day go to the ag campus, and the next day go to the liberal arts buildings, and so forth and so on. And that way you get mortarboard's name out, but also you're reaching out to different parts of campus. Magnetize your fundraising operation. It does not need to be a bad word, and the person that's the fundraising chair doesn't need to go away sad. Just build in the chance to have your fundraising operations help with your chapter development as well. Build in getting acquainted opportunities while members are stuffing packets for a leadership conference, or thank you opportunities for everyone who went, so that you're building camaraderie and enjoyment among your chapter members. They kind of centralize operations and make sure that you are drawing people in, not sending them away. Getting the campus involved. Tell the Dean of Students, tell the Vice President for Student Affairs. Go to the Student Activities Director. Talk about the project that you're going to do. Get ideas, explain to them, and then tell them when it's going to be. Give your president or your vice president or the mayor of your town an honorary pass to attend whatever it is you're doing. Drive scooters around campus to herd people to the kickoff or to the event. And then when you have success, celebrate visibly. Put everybody on a bus or a trolley and ride around campus with your mortarboard banner proudly displayed to celebrate. Yeah, we did it. Getting your project in early is a good idea. We don't know how this year will play out. We surely hope that we will all be able to be on campus and have a normal year, but don't wait. Oh, I am always saying I'll do that tomorrow, but that's not a good thing when you're trying to raise money and have a legitimate fundraiser and create a fundraising program for your campus and for your chapter. All right, if you could all come on screen, those of you who aren't sleeping, I would like to ask you to help me analyze the project really quickly, and I need to be able to see your faces. So Jackson State University is our newest chapter, and they came up with this great idea. Yeah, Chanley knows about Jackson State. Because they were virtual like everyone else last year, their very first year, they came up with this idea to create a study hall. So they hosted a Zoom room, and mortarboards monitored the Zoom room and invited younger students to come into the mortarboard Zoom room so they'd have somebody to study with. They maybe never even talked to one another, but it was a way to get a couple of hours of study time in. And if the mortarboards even offered a chance to tutor on certain topics. And so let's say a freshman came in and wanted to talk about calculus 108, and a member could help with that. They would go into a breakout room and do a little one-on-one tutoring. Now, that was a service. They didn't make any money, but I want you to strategize for a minute about whether you could turn that into a moneymaker and how you would do it. Andrew, I saw your lips move. Were you going to say something?
No, my mom was asking me a question.
Oh. That's good. It's always good to answer your mom. What do you think? Somebody want to just take a stab? How would you turn it into a fundraiser? Or should it just be a service project?
I think Dylan might have his hand raised.
Oh, good. Thank you. I didn't see.
Oh, no problem, Jane. I was thinking, like, let's say you have, like you said, a student that's really good at calc. Like, let's say each semester, so you have 2 semesters, they would donate like 15 hours of their time to sit down and study with the student. Let's say the chapter decides that for an hour of tutoring an individual in a certain subject, they're going to donate to the chapter $20, and that individual that is a chapter member donates their time to, you're basically just having your memberships donate their time for a fundraiser where they're going to get straight profit. The only time lost is the member donating their own time to tutor someone. So that is one way to do it, is just members donating their time to tutor an individual that pays the chapter for that tutoring session.
That's the concept. You got it just right. Thank you. It can, I think it could work on certain campuses, and I hope Jackson State continues with this. By the way, when you have a fundraiser, and I am aware of the time, thank you, Sharon, for reminding me, you have expenses. You don't need to give it all away. I was looking at a chapter project. They raised $12,000 for a Black Lives Matter operation, and they gave all 12,000 away. Maybe they were able to do that because they had other funds to cover their operational expenses. But just remember that when you are raising funds for a children's hospital or the dog shelter down the street or a homeless shelter, abused women's program, you are going to have your expenses. So please keep that in mind, and you could give you don't have to give all of your profits to the organization. Even successful projects need to be assessed, like the Purdue calendar or any of the calendars that our chapters are still doing around the country. You really have to take a look, because maybe that cash cow won't be there anymore. And certainly that's true for all campuses that have printed calendars. With the use of calendar apps and so forth, people aren't buying calendars like they used to. Establish an alumni council. I am taking a page out of Ohio State's book by saying that I think every chapter should have a group of alums. They don't have to be near campus. They could be around the country or the world, who will look after that chapter's finances and not help run the chapter day to day, but just try to be there as an emotional support and a financial support for chapters. And Ohio State has an alumni council that has for many years now been there for the chapter when things got a little tough and fundraising didn't go so well. They were able to provide some support and also do some things around campus in Mortarboard's name that are 1 year collegiate operations, 1 year and then 1 year and then 1 year. That kind of operation just doesn't allow. And finally, a chapter endowment is a way to grow into your chapter's future. A chapter endowment is something that you would start in the Mortarboard National Foundation, and over time you would build up to the threshold of at least $10,000. Sounds like a lot of money, but every year then that endowment would pay off to chapters in the future, and you would be leaving quite a beautiful legacy. So this has been a quick session, and my time is up. I would love to talk to chapters about building your funds. I would love to talk to you about a chapter endowment and chapter alumni council. So there is a jot form. I can't copy that because that's the PowerPoint. Ellen, can you grab this jot form address? I meant to send it to you and I forgot. Fill out a jot form if you'd like to visit with me. I've put a few times that I would be available if you're interested. and I could talk with you or you and your team, and we could strategize about finding the right operation for your campus that will actually make you allow you to raise some funds and not wear your chapter members out and be successful year after year. Thank you for putting the link to the JOT form in the chat. And Lori, the best way to reach you is by writing flowers.
Flowers@blossomexpress.com. Flowers@blossomexpress.com or 1-800-332-7421. It would work.
1-800-332
7421.
7421. My email is here, jhamblin@mortarboard. I thank you very much for your attention, and I really hope you have a good rest of the conference. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your service to Mortarboard and to your campus through Mortarboard.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jane, and thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break.